Sit back, relax, enjoy yourself, because we're going to take a ride and we're going to have a look at the entire movie year of 2014. This time it's going to be different. I'm going to have a look at all new movies that I've seen in 2014, but I'm only going to talk about the bottom 10 and the top 10. I will, however, show my rankings. Now, subjectivity warning. You may not agree with my rankings. That's okay, that's fine. That's what subjectivity is all about. That's the beauty of these things. That's why we're able to drop comments. That's why we're able to make our own lists. But I want you to know that I really appreciate you if you're watching this video. Before I get into the real list, we're gonna have a look at some of the movies I haven't seen yet in 2014. I've seen over 70 movies this year, but there are always a couple that slip through your fingers. And these are the movies I've yet to see in 2014 that look really good. The first one is Big Hero 6, the new Disney movie. Unfortunately, this one is not released in Sweden until January, and I can't wait to see it. It looks amazing. I literally cannot wait to see it. It looks great. Then we have Exodus, Gods and Kings, the new one from Ridley Scott. Heard good things about it, looks decent. John Wick starring Keanu Reeves. It's gotten rave reviews. I can't wait to see that movie. It looks amazing. Of course, there's Nightcrawler starring Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see this one, but I haven't had the opportunity yet. There's also The Green Inferno, horror movie from Eli Roth. Looks to be sort of in the vein of Cannibal Holocaust and such. Whiplash is another movie that's gotten rave reviews this year. Can't wait to see that one. Looks intriguing, and it looks like it has some marvelous performances. There's also a documentary called Why Horror about horror movies, and being a horror fan myself, I thought it looked pretty interesting and right up my alley. So it's time to start with the list itself. Thought in the interest of time I can't talk about all the movies, so here's how this is gonna work. I'm gonna go through my bottom 10, and then we're gonna keep scrolling upwards from the worst to the very best. You'll see my rankings, but I'll be quiet for most of it. If you want to skip ahead, you can use the arrows, and eventually we get to the top 10 movies of 2014. That's when I'll come back with my comments. Sound good? Alright, let's go. So, my worst movie of 2014 is going to be I, Frankenstein. Oh my word, what a horrible, horrible movie this was. It's sort of in the vein of Underworld, but it's crap. Just a horrible, horrible, crappy excuse for a movie. Poor CGI, no script, bad action, and what did they do to the character of Frankenstein? Horrible, awful, unredeemable. My second worst of this year is going to be Blood Widow. Did you see this one? Yeah, probably not. And there's a good reason. This is low budget horror at its worst. This is the type of movie where someone just grabbed a camera and took it outside and said, hey, we can make a movie with our friends who can't act. The only cool thing about this movie that's even remotely positive is that poster. That's the poster that suckered me in, and I regret it ever since. My third worst is going to be VHS Viral. Oh my crap. I've never been a huge fan of the VHS movies, but this one takes it to a whole new level of crap. I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, this is really incoherent, shaky cam bullshit nonsense at its very worst. If you like the first two, just avoid this one. Trust me, just stay away from this one. It's horrible. Just a mishmash of random, poorly written, poorly acted, horribly poorly filmed horror segments, and it's not worth your time, okay? And my fourth worst of this year is going to be Sabotage, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. We do have a good screenwriter here, but I'm afraid this one did not work for me. I'm still not seeing what Arnold is up to. What the hell is he doing with his career? What is this movie? What is going on? Come on, Arnold. Pick a good script. Please. These characters were reprehensible. I mean, they were so horrible. And you're supposed to root for these guys, and they were just douchebags, just horrible, horrible douchebags. The dialogue was awful, and I actually laughed out loud at some of the so-called action scenes. It was just bad. I'm sorry, but it was just really bad, in my opinion. After that, we have A Million Ways to Die in the West. I like Seth MacFarlane, I really do. I think his humor can be wonderful. His sense of humor and mine, they usually gel very well. He's made me laugh hysterically at some points, but this was a miss. He's very hit or miss, and this was a clear miss. I just did not find this funny. It just was not funny. It was mostly Seth MacFarlane walking around a western town, cussing up a storm, and just talking about random things, dick jokes, and I don't know. I think this movie probably should never have been made. Maybe like as a 5-minute short film or something, but as a 90-minute movie, come on. It's a comedy that's not funny at all, so that just makes it intolerable, pretty much. And my 6th worst movie of the year is RoboCop. I actually paid to see this in theaters, and oh my word, I did not care for this one at all. I really, really did not like this movie. I thought it was so tame, and the story was so poorly handled. It was... Ironically, the movie was so robotic. Like, there was no emotion to the characters at all, and that was just intolerable. Just really poor action, just really shoddy, and the suit looked horrible, and there was no gravity or weight to the drama or the action. It was just pretty laughable. I mean, it was cringeworthy. I actually sat waiting for the movie to end. Never a good sign for any movie at all. So, thumbs way, way down for this RoboCop remake. And then we have Hercules from Brett Ratner starring The Rock. I don't know. I thought this might be sort of a fun, brain-dead action movie, but it's just brain-dead. I mean, it was like watching Brett Ratner slam his toys together for 2 hours and yell as loudly as he possibly could. It was that kind of movie. It was almost staggeringly bad. Bombastic action, but there was no sense of plot or coherence or... excruciating, just excruciating to watch, and dumb. I mean, quite literally one of the dumbest films I've ever seen, and I don't say that lightly. My 8th worst movie of this year is going to be 22 Jump Street. I'm really not a big fan of Jonah Hill or Channing Tatum. I didn't really care for the first one, and I think this is just a rehash of the exact same thing. If you compare the stories of these two movies, 21 and 22, they're pretty much the exact same movie. The same gags, the same dumb shit, like over and over again. I think there's a scene where he tells some pigeons to f*** off, and that's one of the jokes in the movie. Like, that's the level of comedy these days. It's like, yeah, telling a bunch of pigeons to f*** off. Wow, that's so hysterically funny. Did not work for me, I think perhaps I giggled once during the duration of the movie. It was just prepubescent and dumb and just cliched, and they need to really work on a good script, I think, instead of just improvising stupid things to do and act dumb all the time. And continuing to count backwards, we have Annabelle, which was a very, very disappointing horror movie, cashing in on The Conjuring. It's not even remotely scary, which is a problem considering The Conjuring is really unnerving and creepy. But I think the real issue with this was the characters. Just a complete lack of character. These guys were just plastic. They were so plastic, which is ironic considering this is a horror movie about a doll, right? There was just no tension, suspense, or drama, and you could not relate to or care about these characters. It was like watching 2 white sheets of paper for 2 hours, and you were supposed to be rooting for them, I guess. Not a good place to be. And it's too bad. It had a few interesting ideas here and there, but it just never materialized into something good. I love The Conjuring, so talk about a disappointment. And finally, we had a little horror movie called Almost Human. Again, probably not a movie that a lot of people have seen. It was kind of an homage to John Carpenter's The Thing. It felt sort of like what would happen if The Thing continued in a small town. But it was, again, just one of those low budget movies. Low budget horror movies these days. Which, I guess it's good that people are able to bring their projects to life, and we have Kickstarter, which is really great, and I applaud new filmmakers for trying to live out their dream, but it's just sometimes they just cannot quite make a decent enough movie. And not to crap all over indie productions, but I think sometimes you have a budget for a reason. It really helps. It helps get you the right equipment, it helps get you the right talent, polish the script, just things that a movie really needs sometimes. And this had potential. I liked the plot, I liked the basic synopsis, but it didn't lead anywhere, and not anywhere good, at least, and that's unfortunate. Okay, those are my bottom 10, my absolute worst of the year in 2014. Now we're going to continue ticking upwards from the worst all the way up to the top. And when we get there, I'm going to talk about my top 10 movies of 2014. Now remember, you can use the arrows on the bottom of the screen to move forward or back at any point in time during this video. Hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you at the top. Alright, so here we are. This is the top. My top 10 movies of 2014, and we're going to start with number 10. Number 10 is The Lego Movie. Who knew? On the page, this sounded like a horrible, horrible train wreck. A movie about Legos, a movie about toys. How is that ever going to work? This is how you do it. This is how you make a Lego movie work. Charming, funny, witty, quick, and with some wonderful surprise cameos. This movie was perfect for the whole family, and if you're not sitting there laughing and just having a wonderful time, just a blast with these great characters, all of a sudden there's a little bit of drama there. There's a little bit of pathos. You're surprised and delighted. It kind of takes a turn. Without becoming preachy, still just a really enjoyable movie for all ages. And I really mean that, for all ages. Anyone in the whole family, from a kid to a parent, can go see and enjoy almost every aspect of this movie. The only thing that I think dragged it down a little bit was the fact that it was so fast-paced. It moved so quickly that you almost couldn't register what was going on at times, you know what I mean? Like, it's jam-packed with things going on left and right all the time, constantly just moving. But always funny, always full of action, always full of heart. And who knew that a movie called The Lego Movie could be that entertaining? That's why I never ever write off animation. I think it can be wonderful. I think it can be amazing for all ages, and I think they can be truly, truly surprising when you least expect them to be, and The Lego Movie is one of those. It just proves why animation can be so much fun for everyone. Alright, so my 9th best movie of the year was a surprise. I think this struck a lot of people, is The Guest. The Guest is one of those almost Ryan Gosling-esque 80s throwback movies. It's sort of a thriller. It's sort of a mishmash of thriller, horror movie, but I almost saw it, it was almost like a comedy to me. It was almost like they were trying to make fun of a Ryan Gosling movie, you know what I mean? It was so overblown and serious and straight-faced. Like, everyone was so serious in this movie. It was almost like a Machete movie to me, and I just found it hysterical, pretty much. I mean, it's probably not intended as a comedy, but I just kept laughing throughout this movie. It was just so much fun. I don't want to spoil anything, but it was just, they take it so seriously, and with this 80s throwback synth sort of score, it just, it was just delicious fun, surreal, strange, and just, yeah. I really didn't care for the movie Drive, so I think this was almost like a jab at that movie. Maybe it's just the way I interpreted it, but I don't know. I just found this funny and enjoyable and surreal and special. It's a very special movie, no matter what you think about it. So check out The Guest. Coming in at number 8 this year is The ABCs of Death 2. I really liked the first ABCs of Death, which is this anthology horror movie where a group of directors are all assigned a letter of the alphabet, and they have to make a short film that's like 5 minutes at the most, and it has to do something with death. They're assigned one letter, one word, and it has to do something with death. I think it's brilliant, not because it has a great budget, but because it shows their creativity. It's pure creative bliss. They have to make these things happen. They have to make it quickly, they have to make it on a budget, and it just brings out the real creative force in people, and it's just the most surprising thing you can ever see. I mean, I had no idea what was about to happen, and it was really well made sometimes. Even in a 3-minute short movie, it can be really staggeringly well made. And this is balls to the wall horror. This is real, true blood and guts, darkly psychological, sexual horror sometimes. So it's really an R-rated movie. It's twisted, it doesn't hold back, and if you like that in a horror movie, you have to see this one. You just have to see it. There's nothing like it. You'll laugh, you'll be disgusted, you'll be intrigued. I certainly think these movies are wonderful, and I hope we get a third one, because I've loved the first 2 installments so far. If you're a horror fan, don't miss out on it. It's really twisted, but it's a lot of fun. My 7th best movie of the year is, and I've bumped this up a little bit, it's X-Men Days of Future Past. Saw this in theaters and I thought it was quite good. It wasn't until I saw it again on Blu-ray that I realized, yeah, this is This is really a good movie. It really is solid. I still prefer X-Men First Class. That's my favorite, but this is probably my second favorite X-Men movie. It's got great action, really wonderful characters, and it's really serious too. It's really quite serious and dark, you know? It gets really dark for a PG-13 movie, and I just love that. It has some of the greatest actors working in the business today, all in this one movie. James McAvoy is amazing. That man is incredible. Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Patrick Stewart, I mean, all these people on screen in the same movie. It's just a delight to see them, and at the same time, it's a really enjoyable, great X-Men movie. All the characters are there. They all get a good sort of share in screen time, most of them anyway. And yeah, I just really love the plot. I love the story of Professor X and Mystique in particular, and just a great mixture of action and plot. I loved First Class because it was plot heavy. It was really rich in the plot. This is a little bit more popcorn entertainment, but that's fine too. I think if you're an X-Men fan, you won't be disappointed by this movie. And I'm not really that much of an X-Men fan. I mean, I haven't really read that many comic books, but I still enjoyed it, and I think that's a testament to the movie. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I feel like I need to see this movie again, because it was perhaps not quite as good as I was hoping, but it was still a very, very well-made film, and it has some pretty incredible performances, particularly from Andy Serkis, who's always phenomenal. The technology is just amazing. I mean, it really is a completely believable, lifelike performance through performance capture. These apes look photoreal. I thought it was a little bit sappy at times. There's a little bit too many drama scenes that just linger on a little bit too long, but still, I still think it has heart and emotion and a good core. It's really wonderful to see what they're doing with this franchise, which was sort of an old schlocky sci-fi franchise once upon a time. If you liked Rise of the Planet of the Apes, give Dawn a look. Be patient with the movie, I would say, because it's actually not quite as bombastic as I thought. It's a bit more, you know, laid back, and it takes some time. It builds character, but that's always an admirable thing in 2014, in my opinion. Number 5 is going to be The Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 1. Yes, indeed. I had Catching Fire on my best of 2013, and again, Francis Lawrence just keeps bringing what I want out of a Hunger Games movie. This is finally what I envisioned when I read the novels. It's quite dark, and it's wonderfully thematic for a PG-13 young adult movie, you know? It's about revolution, it's about standing up for what's right, it's about democracy, it's about the basic fundamental human rights. And we finally start to see Katniss Everdeen become the Mockingjay, the symbol for democracy and peace. And Jennifer Lawrence and everyone in this movie pretty much did a great job. There have been some minor alterations from the novels, but I didn't think they were bad necessarily. Effie Trinket plays a bigger role in this than she did in the novel, but I understand that. It gives her an arc, and it actually works. And yeah, I thought this was very well made. They managed to do a lot right, despite the fact that this is not an R-rated movie. There are still scenes that are powerful, enjoyable, and dramatic. Now, some people feel that we leave on a cliffhanger, and yes, that is true. We do leave with sort of an anti-climax, if you will. But I think when you see these two back to back, when we see The Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 2, and we are finally able to watch these movies back to back, that's when you're going to see the whole full spectrum, and that's when we're finally going to see the core of these movies, what they're all about. Just as in the novels, they weren't really about the games themselves. The games are just a means to oppress the people. It's about the people fighting back, and I think it's very, very interesting and important to note that these movies have had an impact on people in countries where they might feel oppressed, or countries where democracy isn't a given. And the fact that they censor these movies in those countries speaks even louder, and that's something we need to acknowledge. That's why movies like these are important, in my opinion. and stories like these in general. Even if you don't like The Hunger Games, there are many similar stories that you can go to, and they will always be important as long as people are struggling for basic democratic rights in the world. Number 4, quite a surprise for me. I thought I would enjoy this one, but I had no idea how much I would enjoy this one. It's going to be Lucy from Luc Besson, starring Scarlett Johansson. An interesting premise, of course. A woman smuggles a bag of drugs inside her body, but it begins to leak into her system and she unlocks her full brain capacity, quoting that we only use 10% of our brains, which is not really true at all, complete myth. But in this movie, she unlocks her superpower potential and becomes a neurological wonder of superpowers. Look, the plot is not that great, okay? There are plot holes in this movie. I'm not even gonna lie, it doesn't really make sense at all. It's one of those movies where you just have to roll with it. You just have to roll with it, take it at face value and say, it's just an action movie. But what an action movie this was. God damn, this was fun. It's a beautiful action-packed movie. Scarlett Johansson knocks it out of the park in my opinion, and Morgan Freeman was really good too. He just felt natural and present and wonderful, and it was so stylish and unusual and vibrant and alive, this movie too. Just the editing and the action and sort of the voice of this movie was very enjoyable. It reminds me a great deal of Quentin Tarantino's movies, especially the Kill Bill movies. You remember the first time you saw Kill Bill Volume 1 and you were just knocked on your ass? It was a pretty similar experience with this. It was like this unpredictable, enjoyable, stylish, visual action romp, you know? Just a kick-ass movie from start to finish. Yeah, just really enjoyable. And okay, so it's not the richest, deepest story in the world, but damn, it was a fun popcorn movie. That's Lucy for me. Speaking of action, coming in at number 3, we have The Raid 2. I enjoyed the first Raid movie, thought it had some very good action sequences, but I didn't think it was like the most amazing movie ever made. But this one is pretty damn incredible. I mean, it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds for 2.5 hours, I think, until it just explodes. It has insane action choreography, quite literally some of the craziest action I've ever seen in my entire life. And it also has a story, which I thought was refreshing, a little bit of a gangster story, some plot, some really wonderful, sick, demented characters. They're just these sort of crazy stereotypes that appear out of nowhere, these mysterious killers and gangsters, and just see the movie for yourself. There's hardly a way to put it into words. It's really violent and visceral and crazy and action-packed, and full of practical, real action. Not CGI, not wire work. It's all choreographed, and the camera flings around like crazy trying to capture everything that's going on. But yeah, if you haven't seen the Raid movies, check them out. The Raid and The Raid 2. Watch them as soon as you can, especially if you like martial arts movies or action movies. This is just heaven for you. You're gonna love it. Alright, coming in at number 2. Again, perhaps no surprise, it's Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. Interstellar is not quite the movie I was expecting it to be, but it was nevertheless staggering, and I respect Christopher Nolan so much as a director. I just respect the hell out of that man, because what he's doing is actually very much grounded in a real scientific world. It's not like they have lasers, it's not like they have, okay, they do have helper robots, I guess that's the one thing that deviates, but they're sort of believable robots, if you will. Anyway, it's not about, Star Wars, it's not about lasers, it's not about traveling at the speed of light. This is actually based on real scientific truths and mathematical equations, and it's really held back, it's really restrained. But when it gets emotional, after you've spent time with these characters and he's built up this world, it just surprised me again and again and again. And it was just one of the most purely gut-wrenching emotional experiences I've ever had in a movie theater in 2014. I mean, I could not breathe at certain times. It was like my heart was pounding in my chest, and I was just sitting there locked within myself, wondering what is going to happen here. Beautiful, riveting, dramatic, powerful, and intelligent. Above all, intelligent. Here's a director that uses the cinematic medium to really push and to make people think about their lives and think about their surroundings, think about our life, not just on this planet, but our life among the stars. Where will we go in the future? What will we achieve? And will we be able to sustain life on this planet? Those are some deep, heavy questions, and Christopher Nolan, even though this is not a cinematic blockbuster, as I was expecting, like Inception or The Dark Knight, it is a really admirable film, probably one of the most admirable films I've ever seen, and he strives. This is a director that strives to do something potent and powerful, and that makes it pretty much beyond any movie I've seen, any pure blockbuster movie I've seen this year. So bravo, Christopher Nolan. Just an incredible film, and I was emotionally wrecked by this movie. I mean, I could hardly sit up. I had to collect myself for days after I saw this movie. Amazing, just an amazing experience. Watch it on the biggest movie screen you can find, okay? If you're able to see it in IMAX, which I unfortunately could not, I envy you. I envy you so much. There was, however, one blockbuster, one popcorn movie, one action movie, thriller, that I was not expecting to be quite as great this year, and that's my number one choice for the best movie of 2014. For me, hands down, it's going to go to Captain America, the Winter Soldier. That's right, Captain America, the Winter Soldier is my number one pick. I went into this movie thinking it was going to be really good, and I was blown away by it. Just wow. This is my favorite Marvel movie by far. I love how they brought Captain America into the 21st century. I love how this is a real spy thriller. It's really based on real fears and paranoia, but at the same time it's got that superhero vibe and that comic book vibe. Great action, and I love Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier. Really a badass that challenges our hero, but at the same time there's a dramatic connection between the two. Scarlett Johansson is amazing, Samuel L. Jackson, pitch perfect for this movie. Wonderful direction, some incredible hand-to-hand action scenes, real fight scenes, choreographed and wonderful. I love when a superhero movie is dark and grounded somehow in a tangible universe, It's set on Earth, and it's a real human being who is just a little bit stronger than everyone else, but he has to adapt to living in the 21st century. New enemies, new friends, some real drama, and some wonderful action, suspense, thriller sequences with great action. You really feel the camaraderie between the Falcon and Captain America. Everything about this movie was just surprisingly wonderful. It's almost like it doesn't even deserve to be this good, if you know what I mean. It's like when you take this sort of comic book character and throw him up on screen, this is the movie I think everyone strives to achieve. Guardians of the Galaxy, that's a very fun popcorn movie. That's great for the whole family. This is a real movie. This is a real film. I mean, talks about paranoia, surveillance, military control, things of that nature, things that are very topical and current. And it's wonderfully handled, despite the fact that we have this patriotic, larger-than-life character. And to really give him some doubts, and to give him some fears, and to give him some challenges and new friends. And I just loved it. I just think it's incredible. There are so many great Marvel movies, and I pretty much enjoy them all for various reasons, but I think this is just a notch above anything that we've seen so far, and I can't wait to see what they do with this character in the future. We finally have a great Captain America movie, and who knew that out of all of these characters, you've got the Hulk, you've got the Black Widow, you've got Iron Man, you've got Thor, and everyone, that Captain America would be the one to have a really fantastic movie. That's why I love when superhero movies are thrillers instead of comedies. It just works sometimes. It just clicks. And it does kind of remind me a little bit of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, Grounded, wonderful, gritty, but fun at the same time. Great action, suspense, heart, humor, and pure entertainment at its finest. Captain America, The Winter Soldier, you are my number one movie of 2014. Alright guys, if you've made it through the entire video, I want to thank you so much for watching this. What did you think about this year? Did you go see a lot of movies this year? And what are you looking forward to in the next year? Thank you so much. It's been a blast. I've had a great time. And I'll see you again in 2015. Take care.